This is Hard Parking, sponsored by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I am your host, Jhae Pfenning, back in my studio. I was in my studio last week too, but as I had mentioned, this past Friday, I drove to California to attend Cars and Coffee at Honda headquarters. Had a great time. We'll recap that just a little bit, things I saw that I had never seen before, because I've never gone, and they do this event. They used to have a thing called Honda Homecoming that I was never able to go to as well. And for whatever reason, they stopped doing that. So now every few months, they do this Cars and Coffee at corporate, and you can go and you can check out the private showroom and see some really cool things, hang out with a lot of cool people. But coming up on today's show, I talk about Luigi, the guy that is being detained for the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian. And I actually released the video on YouTube late last week. I felt like I had to get in front of it, had to talk about it a little bit. So that audio is coming up. And then I've had a few days to kind of think about it, read some of the comments, collect a little bit more data. And so I'll be wrapping that up at the end of the podcast with some additional thoughts. It's not political. It's more human, the human psyche. So find out what I have to say about that in case you have not seen that video. I also pre-recorded some car news, but I have a few more stories that I want to add to that. So the video shows car news, but this audio that you're going to get now is going to have some more stories. All that and more coming up after this word from 4Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. The truck products cover everything to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. Need a wheel and tire package? Head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. Visit them online at 4Wheel Online. As I had mentioned, went to California, Torrance. It's kind of funny because it was myself, my really good friend Mike Tran, and my other good friend Kenny, and then Kenny brought his girlfriend. And you'd think more people from Arizona would go because it's kind of a big deal. So Mike, myself, Kenny, and Kenny's girlfriend left on Friday. And I got to tell you, some of you live in cities with terrible traffic. LA is definitely a city with legendary traffic. New York City's got legendary traffic. Phoenix has pretty bad traffic too. And usually it's concentrated in one part of the valley. And that's where the 202 and the 10 meet. So if you're going west, if you're going to California, you're going to hit this. It's probably traffic right now. I'm recording this at 10 o'clock at night. I guarantee you there's traffic in that section. If you're going to San Diego, you take the Interstate 8 over, and you don't have to deal with really hardly any traffic. From my house in Gilbert to the other side of Phoenix, which is the most further west city before you consider yourself actually on the road to go somewhere, it takes about an hour and a half. On a bad traffic day, almost 2 hours just to get out of the city, especially if you don't take the most efficient route, which we did not take the most efficient route. So we went to a place in Long Beach called Parker's Lighthouse. Great photo, a beautiful steak, beautiful lobster tail. I was really digging steak, wanted maybe some seafood or something. And so we picked Parker's Lighthouse, made reservations on Open Table. The spot was great, beautiful view, right there on the water. The food, not so much. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst food I've ever had. But it wasn't, let's just say there was 100% better food down the street at the Yard House. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to a Yard House, but usually they have pretty good food. The Yard House, known for beer, but I've never had bad food at a Yard House no matter where I've gone. And I wouldn't consider myself a food snob. Speaking of food, you guys know TGI Fridays is filed for bankruptcy, but I digress. I wouldn't consider myself a food snob, but I still want some value. And so I'm looking at their menu and I go, well, some of this stuff is kind of overpriced. So they want to sell you a 9-ounce filet and they want $59 for it. And I'm like, okay, well, a 9-ounce filet should cost somewhere between $39 and maybe $44, depending on where you're at, because most places that have a 9-ounce filet also have like an 11 or 12 ounce filet, and that's the one that's going to cost $69, $74. If you ever pay more than like $74 for a filet that's 10 ounces, then you're paying way too much. One could argue $74 is way too much, but it depends on the restaurant. I got the ribeye. The ribeye was $69, and it wasn't very big. I think it was like a 14 ounce ribeye. Didn't really taste like anything. When they serve you steak, I get my steak medium rare, by the way, but when I get steak at a place that advertises with a steak on their photo, I don't want to have to grab the salt or the pepper. And I felt like I had to do that a little bit. So it wasn't quite there. I ate the steak, but the mashed potatoes it came with, I probably ate more of that and liked it more than the steak. Got the calamari, wasn't that good. Again, I'm not a food snob, but I had to give it 2 stars, 2 out of 5 stars at Parker's Lighthouse. And it takes a lot for me to give something low stars. The service is great. The staff friendly. Like I said earlier, the place was set up nicely. The ambiance, is it ambience? The ambiance was nice. It's just the value sucked and the food really wasn't that good. The beer was good. Then I went over and hung out with Ryan. You guys know Ryan Ferrer. Actually, he's going to be on the podcast soon. So Ryan, like everybody I talk about, is an NSX friend, but he is also part owner in 1350 Distilling. So if you guys have watched our One Drink Wednesday that I did with Wes Tankersley, 99% of the Wednesdays, 7 o'clock Pacific time, we've had Ryan on as part of 1350 Distilling, and we drank and we talked about the liquor. So made sure I went over to Ryan's house. Actually, I also stayed at his house when I went out for Long Beach. Went over to his place, had a pop or two, went to the hotel. So where did I stay? I stayed at the Residence Inn. Originally, I was going to stay at the Marriott, the main Marriott in Torrance, but I figured, okay, Mike and I were driving from over here. We told Kenny where we were staying. Kenny opted to book somewhere else, which is fine. So I booked Residence Inn. Then Mike books Residence Inn. And then my wife says, do you want me to see if I can get it cheaper because she gets a discount through Wells Fargo? I said, yeah, sure. Let's do that. So I cancel my reservation and we pull up her computer, Residence Inn, Redondo Beach / Torrance. Okay, that's the one. Book it. All right, so I book it. I go to Ryan's house, fast forward back to this last weekend. I go to Ryan's, have a couple pops. Mike had already gone to the hotel. Kenny had gone to the hotel. And I get in probably 1 o'clock. Now, granted, we have to get up. We have to meet at 6:20 in the morning at a local Starbucks, all the NSXs, so we can get to the Cars and Coffee event at Honda early to get specialized parking, whatever. So I'm pulling through, long driveway. I thought I saw Mike's car, but maybe not. Get to the hotel room, check in, and being Residence Inn, everything's it's a suite. So the kitchen's right there and the bed's right there and everything's right there. The refrigerator was loud as hell, like annoyingly loud. And then it was cold. For those of you who live in other parts of the country, you're going to laugh at this, but it was cold. 70 is not cold, but 60, 59, 49 at night is pretty chilly. And so you want to turn the heater on. But pump the heater to 75, but then the heater is hot and it's loud. And my phone had been acting up like that morning because I have the latest. Well, I have iOS 18 like 0.1 on Apple, and iOS 18 is like the worst. There's an 18.2 out. I haven't upgraded yet. So let me know if it's better because I know some of you listening have iPhones as well. But my phone in the morning, I remember Friday morning, it wouldn't turn on. Like it was on, but the screen was black. So the first thing I think of is, geez, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be waking up. I'll be in Torrance. Hopefully my alarm goes off because I don't want to miss this Cars and Coffee event. So I send Mike a text message. I know he's asleep, but I'm like, hey man, I'm in room 208. If you don't see me by 6 o'clock, come and knock on my door. Make sure I'm up because my alarm system is kind of screwy. Go to bed. I end up waking up early, 5 something, which is pretty early when I got to the hotel at like 1. My phone works, which is great. Mike texts me, rise and shine. I go, hey man, I'm up. Cool, great. I'll be ready in a couple minutes. He says, I'll meet you at your car. I said, okay, meet me on my car. So I'm ready in like 2 minutes. Walk out, go to my car. I don't see his car anywhere. I don't hear his car. He has a modified NSX as well. I'm thinking, all right, well, I don't know where you're at, but I'll just meet you at your car. He tells me, all right, cool. I'm right out front waiting. I'm on Torrance Avenue or whatever, Torrance Street, Torrance Boulevard, whatever. I'm like, there is no front. I mean, the front, I'm out front. Are you sure you're not in the back? He goes, no, you can only go in one way and you can only go out one way. I go, that's weird. The one I went in, I can go in and out, but maybe we arrived at 2 different times. I go, I went in where that old man is. There's an old man who was checking to make sure you had a parking pass, which is pretty good for security. But anyway, where are you? 5 minutes later, I go, I don't know where that road is. I'll just meet you at Starbucks. So I get to Starbucks, and we were staying at 2 different residence inns. Thank goodness he didn't beat on somebody's room 208 that morning, because it wouldn't have been me. But we go to Honda. It's great. It's 40-something NSXs. I took a lot of videos, and I'm going to upload a video to YouTube shortly after, like probably early this week. I'm going to try to get it out by Tuesday, and I'm going to narrate it. It's different because usually I'm walking around, I'm kind of vlogging, talking to people, but the DJ started playing music, and I had this happen before when I would go to Fuel Fest. You would try to talk when you're doing these cool videos at an event, and copyright hits it. And then you have to fight the copyright on YouTube. Major pain in the ass. So I made the executive decision. So instead of me trying to talk over, I didn't bring any of my really cool equipment with me anyway. So instead of me trying to talk over, I'm just going to narrate this whole video. So be looking for that video. But it was really cool. Got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time that live in Cali. My good friend, obviously Kelly from Acura. Her sister Jody, also my good friend. Got to hang out with them. Hang out with some Acura folks. There was only 2 Type S NSXs there, myself and Jim Lee. Jim Lee has a Casino White Pearl. Mine is 130R White, so we park right next to each other. He's been there for 35 years. But the cool thing is, also shout out to Jason Jones for hooking me up with some of your still photos from the meet in the morning, because that's going to make the video. I didn't take any photos that morning, first thing in the morning. But you go into Honda Corporate, and they have this collection hall right inside. So you have the gift shop, and they got their own Starbucks there, open area. And you go left and you start walking through the hall, and they've got the motors, like the official engine split in half with all the detail on them, pictures on the wall, some dates that may or may not be accurate, and a bunch of cars. They had Peter Cunningham's NSX outside. Real time, they had his Type R inside, or it's got Pierre Klein-Newman's, but it's number 42, so everything's Peter on that. Bunch of cars, bunch of motorcycles, kind of walk around. Really cool stuff. I mean, I know some of you listening aren't really that big into cars, but just imagine you get a whole history of some of these really old Hondas and some new Hondas and some Acuras, because it's Honda and Acura, basically the same company. But it was a really cool event. Afterwards, we went because I guess Torrance, California is really known for their Japanese food. And so Jody, sister of Kelly, picked out a spot that was within walking distance. My good friend Victor came out from North Hollywood. He came down about an hour and a half in traffic. Thanks, Victor, for doing that. We had some good Japanese food. And then I turned around, got in my car, and drove back. Before I close this Honda Cars and Coffee thing, shout out to Willie. Your cool little Hot Wheels stand. Willie's like, hey, you're Pfenning, Jhae Pfenning, right? I go, yeah. Hey, I watch your podcast. Sometimes I listen to it, sometimes I watch it. It's really cool. It's different than normal car stuff, and you get some really good guests and good conversations on there. Great guy. I said, hell yeah, dude. So then I found him later, and I invited him on the podcast. So I'm going to link up with him. Will, if you're listening to this, like I said, send me an email, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you follow me on Instagram, slide into the DMs. Let's get this thing set up. Let's get this recorded before the end of the year so I can start the new year with a bang. Some observations. First off, when you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, don't be that person who reports police on Waze. It's useless. It's just as bad as, and I've talked about this before, it's just as bad as the person who reports construction in an obvious construction zone. Dude, the freeway is literally under construction. Everybody can see it. That's why traffic sucks. There are barrels on the right. There are barrels on the left. We're down to 2 lanes from the normal 5. Everybody sees the construction. Stop reporting construction. It's annoying. Let's get into some car news. A story by David Cifarelli on masslive.com, which is Massachusetts' Massachusetts has the worst drivers in the U.S. according to a study from LendingTree. The study found that Massachusetts had 61.1 incidents, including accidents, DUI, speeding, and citations per every 1,000 drivers from November 5th of 2023 through November 4th of 2024, so pretty much one calendar year. At 44.4 accidents per every 1,000 drivers, the Bay State was the only state with a rate above 40, according to the study. The next 4 states with the worst drivers are Rhode Island, California, Washington, D.C., and New Jersey. Arkansas, Michigan, Vermont, Kentucky, and Oklahoma were the top 5 states with the best drivers. I would argue that Arizona has crappy drivers when it's the snowbirds. In Florida, specifically Miami, absolutely sucks. That wasn't part of the story. I'm just telling you from experience. And as of December 10th, you can now buy your Hyundai on Amazon in 48 U.S. cities. Vehicle shoppers can browse, order, finance, and schedule pickup of a new Hyundai vehicle from their local participating dealer directly from Amazon. How about that? Can you imagine that checkout? I wonder, you think Yvette would notice if I just casually slid in a 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5 in the shopping cart? Looks like Amazon Prime also has an offer here to save fuel. Prime memberships now include fuel savings, enabling savings of nearly $70 a year on average. I bet you have to have like an Amazon Prime credit card. That's the only way. I don't see how else you could do it. So anyway, how would this work? It says you can get instant valuation and trade in your existing vehicle toward the purchase of a new car, see transparent upfront pricing, secure financing or pay in full, complete the checkout process online, and schedule a pickup time at a dealership. That's amazing. I mean, Costco, you could buy a car from Costco, I'm pretty sure, right? I haven't tried it, but I thought people said that you could buy a car from Costco. But I wonder, I don't think you can go to Costco online and buy it. You probably have to go inside Costco, where they have their tire center, and probably buy a car there. Maybe, I don't know. Tell me, have you ever bought a car from Costco? You know anybody who's bought a car from Costco? Am I just making that up? Because when you're walking out of Costco, you have all that stuff on the right side and most of them. And it's like, buy an air conditioner here, and you have the big tire center on the left, and everyone told you to buy your tires at Costco, which we haven't done yet. I almost bought my last set of tires at Costco, but they weren't going to be available for like 3 or 4 days, and I needed tires now, so I went to discount for the MDX. But anyway, let me know, have you bought a car from Costco? Do you know anybody who's bought a car from Costco? I'm sure by now many of you have seen this viral video of a disgruntled customer crashing his vehicle through the dealership wall. He tried to return the vehicle according to the stories that are out there, and they said, no, sir, you cannot. So he forcefully returned the vehicle, hard parking it into the dealership. A few weeks ago, I did some statistics, and about 36,000 times this happens a year in the United States, which equates to about 100 times a day where a vehicle impacts a building. But if you want to return your vehicle, there are definitely other ways to do it other than crashing it into the dealership. It looks like Nissan and Infiniti are in a little bit of hot water. This affects me personally because I have an Infiniti outside. Granted, it's a older Infiniti. Infiniti sales have plummeted by 50% over the last 5 years, according to Autoblog.com. So the struggles are because of an aging lineup, strategic missteps, and unfulfilled promises that have left both dealers and consumers disenchanted. Even the redesigned QX80 SUV, which is a very nice looking vehicle, has failed to turn the corner on the brand. Some dealers around the country are expecting to lose over $2 million this year alone. For 2026, Aston Martin has announced that the Valhalla, a 1,064 horsepower plug-in hybrid, is on its way. This thing is beautiful. Aston Martin will be making 999 units. Let's take a look at some of these quick stats for you car nerds. 1,064 horsepower, 811 pound-feet of torque. And finally, I still have not got to work on my Infiniti that is broken down outside in front of my house where it has sat for 2.5 months. That is the car news. Okay, so every once in a while, something happens and like in society, and I have an opinion about it. And these are usually the things that get me labeled as a libtard, although I'm about as far as a liberal as you're ever going to get, especially if you know me. But I know that we had this murder of the CEO, Brian Thompson of United Healthcare, by this guy named Luigi, allegedly. I'm not convinced that it's actually Luigi, and me and millions of other Americans are not entirely convinced. There's a lot of stuff there, way too much stuff there that's just awfully convenient And so that remains to be seen. But what I'm going to play for you, and hopefully some of you have already seen this, depending on what social media platform is, on Piers Morgan Uncensored, he had Taylor Lorenz on there. Taylor Lorenz, I don't really know who she is. I looked her up a little bit because her name sounds familiar. But her comments is what I'm going to react to here. So let me just hit play. We'll listen to a little bit of it. I'm not going to get I'm probably going to get a copyright strike or monetization strike, but guess what? I'm not monetized anyway because people don't really watch this channel. But let's just go ahead and listen to this.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it
Joy?
feels like.
Right. Joy. She felt joy that Brian was gunned down.
Serious?
I mean,
joy
I
at a
guess I would
man's
say
execution?
maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
We're
this is a
watching
man
the footage.
responsible for
How can this make you joyful?
greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And
Okay, so I would say there's a lot to react to, but there really isn't. I think the big obvious problem here is this guy Brian Thompson was gunned down in the early morning by this, again, I don't know if it's really Luigi. Someone walked up, and the footage is everywhere. Point blank assassinates this guy, kills him. Now, I get that he's a CEO of a major healthcare system, and I get that our healthcare system in the United States is not the best. It needs dramatic reform. I work in healthcare IT, so I don't handle this, but I do work with a lot of teams that handle insurance claims. But at the end of the day, you have a CEO, you have an employee, you have an executive of a company. Now, we don't know if he's up there trying to make the change, if he's up there saying, deny more claims, we need more money. If he gets up there and he says, by the end of this fiscal year, we're going to accept twice as many claims. We're going to cut our claim rejections by 50%. And we're going to grant more claims and pay out more money. And I don't care if it costs this company $40 billion. This is what we're going to do for the American people. It's the right thing to do. He probably gets fired the next day. So you have to understand that people in these positions, they're not powerless, but they're not necessarily the dictators that people think they are. And to find joy that somebody at the top of a healthcare system gets murdered in broad daylight. And here's the deal. It's not even just Taylor Lorenz. I've seen a lot of people on social media cheering on the murderer and calling on the person at McDonald's that ratted on him. They're calling this person a rat. You ratted on Batman. I've heard a lot of people calling him Batman and Bruce Wayne because he has two personalities. This incredibly smart Luigi guy in the daytime, whose family, by the way, is connected to the healthcare system, if it really was him, by the count of $50 to $100 million. So, and he has back issues. So maybe it's a crime of passion. Maybe it's not even him. But it's weird that we like to celebrate weird stuff like this. It's not the murder of Osama bin Laden. It's not Adolf Hitler killing himself, allegedly, in the war. A guy who says, eradicate all these people off the planet, eradicate all the Jews, the person responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths of humans. It's somebody at the top of a healthcare, a CEO, trying to make a living. By all accounts, he was a good father, a good husband, and he's just an employee of a system. Sure, he's making millions of dollars, potentially. I don't know how much Brian made. We do know CEOs cash in on a lot of bonuses, depending on what happens with the company's performance. But to think that his murder somehow is justifiable because the healthcare system on a regular screws over people and denies a lot of claims, that's a problem with you if you celebrate that. That's inherently evil. Now, I don't know if Taylor Lorenz is a bad person, but she's definitely a bad person for having that thought and celebrating it on national TV, on an interview. It's the same person, it's the same type of person who hates our president-elect Donald Trump so much you wish that the first assassination attempt person wouldn't have missed. Like, really? Can you imagine what would have happened to this country if that were successful? How about you just vote and try to vote this person out? It's crazy, but unfortunately, it's social media. I had friends, they would send me videos and I'd watch people and I'm like, did you just send me a video of somebody dying? I don't want to see somebody die. And now I'm kind of numb to it. Now, I'm never like, that person deserves what they get. But there's people in the comments that say, FAFO, right? F around and find out. That's what this person gets. And there's a lot of people who have the FAFO approach for Brian, and it's a sad thing. I think we need to take a look in the mirror and decide if is this really what we want in our society? Because it's pitiful, it's sad, it's pathetic to celebrate someone's death like that. I get it. If the healthcare system has screwed you over, screwed your family over, they denied somebody right next to you and you had to sit back and watch them die. That sucks. And I could almost understand if that were the case with and again, we don't know still if it was really Luigi or not. We don't know. There's a lot of things that just don't add up with that. But if whoever the killer was, let's say that they just lost their family or somebody really close to them and it was a true crime of passion in the moment without thinking it through, I understand from that aspect. You still don't celebrate it, but maybe the jury feels differently when it does go to trial. But this was just murder, slam dunk case, murder in the first degree or first degree murder. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I have a friend that thinks that there's going to be a sympathetic jury when they do eventually find the killer. If it's not this Luigi guy, that's going to look at the healthcare system and how messed up it is and how people get denied all the time and people die all the time and somehow find leniency in the sentencing. No, this was murder. This was cold-blooded murder. And whoever did it deserves every penalty that's coming to them. And as people, we got to do better. We can't just sit back and celebrate watching something like this. It's a horrible thing to see. That's it. Off my soapbox. Drop your negative comments. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I'm detached. Tell me I'm a libtard for believing this way. I'm just a human being, and I really wish human beings were a little bit better. All right. So what are your thoughts on this whole Luigi Mangione killing Brian Thompson thing? I'm not going to judge you either way, but hopefully you can understand what it is I was trying to say there. I had one person comment that I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I should do some more research if I don't know how much Brian Thompson made. And it doesn't matter. And I did look it up. His salary in 2023 was $1 million. He finished with about $10 million because of stock options and bonuses, but that's not unlike a CEO running a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars at this point. It doesn't change my opinion at all. It further strengthens it. It's strange to see people sit back and applaud what happened. And even after the fact, because this was a few days ago when I recorded that, you guys probably saw, depending on what social media, again, that you consume, is somebody, I don't remember if it was a DJ or one of the musicians, somebody did a concert and they showed Luigi's face multiple times in the background and on the news clippings, and the crowd cheered. Then you probably saw the story of the lady in Florida who got her claim denied. She's got 3 children. She's 42 years old. And she said the 3 words, deny, depose, and defend. You're next. That's what she said when she got her claim denied. And of course, she got arrested. And now she's could face up to 15 years in prison for saying that. And people defending her are saying, well, she has free speech. But as soon as you cross over and threaten somebody like that, hey, this happened and you're next because you denied my claim and people like you were next, there's a threat. And you got to be smarter than that. But that's the danger in what Luigi did, if it was Luigi. That's the danger of the murderer of this whole thing and people championing that cause is people get behind that and they think it's okay. And then you're going to start having this copycat, and our society seems to be okay with that. How far away are we from something like The Purge? Obviously, we are way far away, but there's people who think that maybe we should have a purge night. There's people who think we should take all the homeless and shove them into a corner and never see them again. There's people who think that we should eradicate the elderly because they're causing financial strain on our system. Like, those people are out there. And when this murder in cold blood happens and people applaud that, again, just like I said earlier, you can be upset at the healthcare system. Our healthcare system is not the best financially. No one can explain why this pill costs so much. It's because all the research, people got to get rich. People got to make their money back. You know, again, you guys know I work in healthcare. I'm healthcare IT. radiology specialty, so I know how much an MRI machine costs. I know how much it costs the state when I lived in Michigan. I know how much it costs for the certification. I know that you have to run it for a certain amount of time. I know it can never actually turn off. If these things turn off, they have their own power because bad stuff happens when a CT machine and an MRI machine, when the power gets cut from a hospital. So they have their own backup generators. But should that MRI cost $3,000 when should an X-ray cost whatever it costs, $650? I think everybody could say no, it shouldn't. But somebody somewhere is making a lot of money off this stuff. And that's not United Healthcare, but that's just the system in general. The entire system, whether it's getting an exam somewhere. I mean, hell, your office visit out of network, very expensive. Why? So yeah, it's a messed up system. And I complain about it just as much as anybody. I live with people that are on disability, that can't work. I have people in my life, people with cancer, people that are elderly, people in homes, people that have to rely on the system and they have to constantly ask and ask and ask to get renewed. Your medicine gets canceled all of a sudden because your insurance doesn't want to cover it. I understand that. But that doesn't mean it's okay for what happened to Brian Thompson to happen to everybody just because you work for these places. Reform starts with everybody. It starts with legislation. And it's just cringy to applaud this. So hopefully if you're listening, I didn't alienate you. I'm not going to judge you if you applauded it, but just kind of think about what it is you're actually cheering for. Because there's the now they'll listen. They didn't listen to us before. Maybe now they'll listen. Life doesn't work that way. Life never works that way. And in the end, maybe we all lose. Maybe I should talk about the drones before I close this out. I have no idea what's going on with the drones. You know what's funny? I brought it up. My wife had never heard about it. And I'm laying in bed. I go, hey, honey, did you hear about the drones? It's a few days ago. No. So I showed her some stories off of X. She automatically thinks everything on X is bullshit, which a lot of it is. But that's, again, the only place you're going to get most of the news because do you even watch TV? Do you guys even watch TV? Most people you just watch streaming networks. I don't even watch the news. I see the news because my mother-in-law watches the news on the Spanish channel. And I look and I go, oh, that's happening. And I know what's going on social media. People consume their news from social media now. That is a statistical fact. So that's where I get my news. But I brought it up and then she says I'm obsessed with the drones. I'm not obsessed with the drones. I just think it's super freaking weird that local state officials, the mayors in New York, some of the senators, nobody knows what's going on, the state police. And you see all these surveillance videos or these home videos and you have to kind of look at them and like, I don't know. You can't really believe anything anymore. But if everyone's doing it, that'd be super, coincidental for everyone to decide to prank. And then when you get people that you respect in authority, they're confused. Then you have to listen. When you have a mayor getting interviewed and they lose their shit because no one's telling them anything, you got to listen. And so I have a theory. This is my theory. My theory is there is an imminent threat to the United States. There's an imminent threat to the New Jersey, to the New York area that only the people who need to know, which includes most of the Pentagon may actually not know. They could be either A, they're lying to us, or B, they don't know. Somebody knows. And so either they're organizing these drones to intercept a possible nuclear threat. I did some research a couple weeks ago, and this was right when things got real tense in the Middle East, which there's still stuff going on. How long would it take a tactical nuke, if fired from Iran, if fired from Russia, to hit Phoenix? It said a tactical nuke fired from the other side of the world can hit anywhere in the United States between 20 and 40 minutes. 20 and 40 minutes. So think about that. Think about how scary that is. How long after they fire it till we get a warning, till you get a warning that there's a tactical nuke headed to your area. You can grab your car keys, grab your wallet, which isn't going to do you any good, but maybe run to the garage, start your car, grab the family, grab nothing else. And before you even make it out of your county, you're probably dead. And that's if there's nobody on the road. You're probably dead. Okay? That's bleak. But I do that research just out of curiosity. So maybe somebody is threatening. Maybe these drones are there and they're scattered at an attempt to intercept as something might come over the ocean. Or there's something going on in New Jersey and they're trying to find it. Maybe there's a nuclear leak over there. Maybe there's a lost warhead over there. But I think the people who need to know knows what's going on and nobody else knows, because what does 2020 tell you? 2020 told you, COVID told you that people can't handle crazy news. As soon as COVID came out, they started shutting stuff down. Toilet paper gone. Baby wipes gone. Clorox wipes gone. People were afraid and they're buying it all. Or people were buying it and turning around trying to sell it for astronomical amounts of money. That's who people are. The pandemic showed us that people are always going to be people. So forget a utopian society where everybody helps everybody else out. Doesn't exist, doesn't work, never going to work. You're always going to have your cell of selfish, violent, greedy people who want to corner the market regardless of what's going on. And think about New York and New Jersey. Think about the panic if they were to say, we have reason to believe that this area is in imminent danger. Hell, my employer is in New Jersey. I got friends there. I got coworkers there. If I'm there, I'm getting the hell out of there as soon as you make that announcement, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Put on my tinfoil hat. I think there is a known threat and they are trying to mitigate it or get ready for it. And they don't want to tell people because they know people are going to go nuts. Never mind your UFOs. There's no aliens. Maybe there is, but it's pretty coincidental when they release the UFO files. And also we have UFOs, right? Kind of weird. Or the UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomenon is what they're calling them now. So I think it's something. You know, David of Driver's Therapy, who was on here before with the pet rock, you guys remember that, the unisex rock? He had uploaded a video and Wall Street Apes got a hold of it. That's a big account on X. And he's former military and he played with drones, I guess. And he said, what you're seeing are military drones, and they're probably trying to figure out what these other orb things are. So it's this cat and mouse game. So something's going on. And so I encourage you, if you've never heard about it till right now, I encourage you to look it up. Download X, get on X, and there's some bad stuff, but you'll know what you're looking at if it's real. You could tell from people, not what you've seen in the skies, but from people's testimony. And stay informed. You owe it to yourself because it's scary. Whatever the fuck is going on, it's nuts. And I hope it's nothing. But it's something right now. So that being said, one, maybe two more shows left this year. Special thanks to Right Honda, Right Toyota, Toyota of Huntington Beach, Claremont Toyota, and Gardenia Honda, 4LN.com, Sell Sharp Wireless Services, Auto Cannon officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. My Patreon business supporters, thank you guys so much for staying with the show. Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland. Kuya Automotive, who's been here from the beginning. Out of Winter Garden, Florida. Pell Construction out of Conroe, Michigan. Big House Small Home Design, Ashford, Virginia. Traverse City, Michigan. Shaving Success, West Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. Catch us every Wednesday for One Drink Wednesday, 7 o'clock Pacific time at One Drink Wednesday on Instagram. Special thanks to Mark Stillman, Catherine Cox, Sadie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Amina, Drew Bunkley, and Yasu Chiba. Email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at Pfenning. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. Have a lot of fun on there. Remember, you can post whatever you want. Just try to keep it clean. Does not even have to be car related. And the biggest thing is I can't grow like you tell the world how great this show is. So let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. And and we are almost done with this year. I'll talk to you all next week.
Shut up!